Okay, the schus of our learning. We should have the base of Migdash. Should be panacea. Today we're going to start Cupcast 28b of the Mishnah. The Mishnah starts Kol Shivas Yamim, all the 7 days of Sukkot. Beis Adam Sukkasi Keva Beis Yarai. The Sukkah is your main home. Your house, you enter into temporarily. You go in to get something. It's like a storage place or whatever. But that's not where you dwell. Yordu Geshamim. Let's say it started to rain. So, when are you allowed to leave the Sukkah? Mishatisrach HaMikveh. Mikveh is not the mikveh. Mikveh is a stew. When the stew spoils, that means let's say some sort of porridge. It's too watery, so then it's like spoiled to eat. So even if you're not eating porridge, even if you're eating something else, but if that amount of water, that amount of rain would spoil porridge, so then that's enough that you're exempt from the mitzvah of sukkah. You can leave the sukkah. Yeah, it's because of mitzvah. Yeah, the place can say when it comes to sleeping, it's a lot less than that. When it comes to eating in the sukkah, so it's this amount. When it comes to sleeping, even a small amount of rain is already disturbing, and you can't sleep in it. Mashal Ma'adavar Daima. What is this similar to? Levich Balimzek Kaislarabba. A servant is coming to mix a drink for his master. The Gemara is going to have a chat. To us, we learned the Mishnah before, or we heard the Mishnah before. We translated that, and the master threw it back in his face. In other words, someone's coming to do the mitzvah, and Hashem says, okay, I'm not interested. However, in the Gemara, it's not so pashut. In the Gemara, we know who's coming to serve who. The servant is coming to serve the master a drink. And he pours it on his face. There's too many pronouns there. Who's the he? In whose face? The Gemara is not sure. In the Gemara, it's going to be maybe the master pours it on the servant's face. Maybe the servant pours it on the master's face. Yeah, we'll have to see what the pshat is. The master pours it on the servant. Okay. The Gemara says like this: Taner Rabbanan was taught in a brayso, Kol Shivas Yamim, all 7 days of Sukkot. Adam Ma'aser Sukkah Keva Beis Yarai. Person makes his house, his sukkah permanent and his house temporary. Ketzad, how does he do this? If he has nice utensils, malan the sukkah, you bring him into the sukkah. Yeah, some people use just plastic in the sukkah. It's easier to get rid of. Yeah, apparently that's not the finest. Matzah is nice. Yeah, the problem is that you lose silverware. You have nice silverware. They take it out on the way back. Somehow you lose a spoon or fork. Matzah is nice. If there's nice coverings, bed coverings, malan the sukkah, you take it into the sukkah. Eichel b'sheisa, you eat and drink matayel b'sukkah, and you're also matayel. Matayel is like to stroll. What does that mean? It means you want to talk with someone. You talk in the sukkah. Talk on the phone in the sukkah. Chat. Yeah. Although the place can just say that the sukkah has a certain kedusha, and you shouldn't speak about the tailor. So it shouldn't be like mamish chatter. But things that you do, that's your home. That's your home. That's the sukkah. How do you know this? The Taner Rabbanan was taught in a brayso, Teishvu ken tedura, that you dwell. You live in the sukkah the way you dwell in the house. Mikan Amru. From here they said that's the pasuk. That's the source of what we said. Kol shebasiyam ma'isa adam sukkasei kevo beisei arai. That all 7 days the sukkah is permanent and his house is temporary. Ketzad hayla kelim noim. He has nice clothing, or nice utensils rather. Ma'alam l'sukkah. You bring him into the sukkah. Matzah is nice spreads, which is like tablecloths or sheets or blankets. Ma'alam l'sukkah. You bring them into the sukkah. By the way, the term is always ma'alam because, like Rashi told us before, that the sukkahs were built on the roof. So it's always ma'alam. You bring it up to the sukkah. Eichel v'sheisam matayel b'sukkah. You eat and drink, and you stroll, you chat in the sukkah. And then the Gemara adds in one point. Umashanin b'sukkah, and you learn in the sukkah. Rashi over here says Mashanin, says that you learn Gemara in the sukkah. The reasons for the Mishnah. What's the reason this is chayav? What's the reason this is pater? All of that you do inside the sukkah. That type of learning. Mishanin over here would mean you clarify things. Yeah, like maybe it means sharpen. The Gemara has a question. Aini, is that so? Vamarava, but Rava says mikro masna, psukim and mishnayos, b'metallasa. Metallasa is a term for sukkah. That's in the sukkah. Utinuye, that means Gemara. Barmi metallasa, that you do outside the sukkah. So why do you tell me in the Brisa that you learn Gemara in the Sukkah? Rava tells me, well, it's really a question on Rava. Rava tells me that Gemara you do outside the Sukkah. The Gemara answers like Kasha Haba Migra Sabi Yune. It depends if you're doing Girsa or Iyon. Yeah. In some yeshivas they call it Bekiyas. Bekiyas or Iyon. Or in the Chabad yeshivas they call it Girsa or Iyon. Okay. Yeah. So what does that mean? Migras means that you learned it already. Rashi says, and you're going it over. And when you're going it over, you've already clarified it, but you're just going over your conclusions of what's how it works. So chazara you can do quickly, and that sort of chazara, that sort of review, you can do inside the sukkah. When it comes to working it out the first time, you have to clarify it. So for that, you need a lot of space. You can't be in a crowded sukkah. That you have to walk outside. It doesn't have to be in that doesn't have to be in the sukkah. To clarify things the first time, that would be outside the sukkah. Yeah. Reb Chaim Soloveitchik said when he was young, he wasn't a big master. He wasn't very studious. He said he learned two sessions a day, 6 hours in the morning and 6 hours in the afternoon. And he wasn't studious. He said the rest of the day he would listen to a chazan. I don't know if they had records or something. But anyway, he passed away in 1918. They have recordings from 1918. He probably had something. No? Anyway, he said in the morning, it took him 100 days to learn 1 page of Gemara. In the afternoon, he was able to do 100 pages in 1 day. So he has the two styles of learning. So he says, Kihad, it's supposed to be over here, we're on top of Chavtes, after adjusted. Kihad de Rava v'Rami Bar Chama. That's how they switch it on the side. Just like Rava and Rami Bar Chama, which makes them, it's Rava and Rami Bar Chama, they were both students. They were both students in front of Rav Chizda. Mirati b'Gemara b'Hadi Adadi v'Hadar Mayni b'Svara. They would rush through. Mirati sounds like the rush. They would rush through what they heard from Rav Chizda, and afterwards they would clarify what's the explanation for it. Which means that there's 2 types of learning. Even in Gemara, this is what we're doing. Even in Gemara itself, there are 2 types of Gemara. See, the Mishnah just says yes and no. Chayiv, pater, asr, mutter. The Gemara tells me, what's the reason? Why is this chayiv? Why is this? Now, Rav Chisda would teach those reasons, and they would review it, and they would review it. Afterwards, they would discuss: are those reasons correct? Why does this reason apply? And this, but first you have to get what was said. Yeah, the Daf Yomi is a good example of this. That you just get what it said. Exactly all the ins and outs. That's for Gemara Shir, some other time. That's there's all the dialogue and everything is it's really, but maybe you could say the other way, and why does that answer the question? Yeah, question. I think about dress. So you need to slip when you say it's really rules on how the person appears is supposed to have utensil. I think it says he's supposed to be modest in the sukkah. I think it says that. That's the only thing that I have to worry about this quote. I'm not sure. I think you live in the sukkah like you live in the house. Not like you live in the house like you live in the dining room. Doesn't mean where you live in the bathroom or the kitchen. Where you live in the dining room or your bedroom. Well, the bedroom would be when you're going to sleep. Yeah, you do wear your pajamas. Right. Amar Rava. Rava says, we're on top of Chaptes, Mani Mishtia, utensils for drinking. That means cups. B'metalasa, that's in the sukkah. Yeah, it doesn't mean dirty ones you're allowed to leave in the sukkah. It doesn't mean that you're always supposed to have drinking. It doesn't mean that you just have exhibit A. Or it doesn't mean that you're just always supposed to have cups in the sukkah. So the place can bring both pshatim, because people drink all day. They don't eat all day. They eat at the meals, but drink they have. They drink all day. So mani michla, but plates and utensils for eating. Bar mimetala, so that you don't leave in the sukkah, that you take out. So either it means the dirty plates, or it means just storage plates. You don't need to have them in the sukkah because you don't eat all day. But to have a stack of cups that you're supposed to have in the sukkah so people can drink because they drink all day. Both pshatim. Yeah. The Taisus brings another pshat. Maybe it means cooking utensils. The sukkah is not your kitchen, so you don't bring the pots and pans into the sukkah. This I know the women. When they serve, it's hard to serve because how do they to schlep every plate outside separately? It's difficult. So what they do is they take the pot of soup and they bring it outside. Problem is, you're not allowed to bring the pot into the sukkah. So they have some people have a fancy serving pot. Like the ladle. I don't know what they're called. Fancy serving pot with the ladle. No, there's a name for it. There's a name for it. There's a name. A
tureen.
Yeah, maybe a tureen, and they could bring it into the. That's something that you can actually bring to the dining room. Yeah, that according to the Bahag, according to Tosfos. Yeah. In other words, it's not a kitchen. It's not a kitchen. Very good. Yeah. The Google was correct. Chatzva v'shachel. These are two types of baskets. This is a basket that's made out of earthenware, or a basket that's made out of wood. Bar mimetalasa, that's outside the sukkah. It's used for water or other things. The shraga, what about a candle? Bimitalasa. That's in the sukkah. V'amila bar mimetalasa. That's outside the sukkah. Some say it's outside the sukkah. We're talking about a candle up here. Now, what's the problem with the candle in the sukkah? There's different interpretations here. Rashi says that we're talking about it's a lamp that's made out of clay. Once you put the oil in it, it becomes gross. So it's really disposable. You use it once and then that's it. It was like probably a cheap clay. It was used only once. So you don't leave that in the sukkah. Sounds like while it's burning, you're allowed to have it there. Tosfos, on the other hand, says no. Tosfos says that there was an issue of possibly the sukkah catching fire. So you wouldn't put it in the sukkah. We're going to see shortly that it also has to do with space. If you're in a small sukkah, if you have the lamp in there, then you actually don't have space for anything else. But we'll see in a moment. The Gemara says there's really no argument. This is supposed to be in the sukkah or out of the sukkah. In a large sukkah, then it could be there. In a small sukkah, then there's a problem. Yeah. Back to the earthenware, to the clay lamp. So what would it make a difference if it's a sukkah gedayla? It's not something that's not nice. Why would it happen? I'm not sure. It's a shot. Maybe it just happens to be clay, but you're still using it. According to this, the pshat would be it's still burning. You can use it once. It's just the second time. Same thing as in Hilchos Chanukah. If you make a clay menorah, you're only supposed to use it once. You're not supposed to use it the next night. Yeah, there used to be a place that had clay works. Make clay. I would take my class there, and we would make a menorah, and they would make design. Then I would tell them the halacha that if you use it once, you can't use it. They would get all like. Then I would tell them that after that it says that if you glaze it, then you can use it at home. So then we would glaze it. Yeah, they had a kiln. They did the whole thing. Once it's glazed, it has to be glazed. Like a donut. Okay. Yardu Geshamim. It started to rain. Yeah, it did in Romania. They said, not in they said, don't get what's so special about the plastic cups. They're so hard to wash. So Yardu Geshamim, if the rain started, if it's raining, Tana was taught in the Brisa, maybe it means it's the Brisa. Mishatisrach hamikbashel grisi. Said when the porridge gets spoiled. What's the porridge? It's a stew of beans. Grisi are split beans. Abaya havikayasef kameder Rav Yosef metalasa. Abaya is a student of Rav Yosef. He's sitting in front of Rav Yosef in the sukkah. By the way, before we had Rabbah, and we switched it to Rabbah. And Rami Barchama, both students of Rav Chisda. That's that famous Gemara that Rav Chisda had his daughter on his lap. He said, "Which one would you like to marry?" The young girl, and they had the two students there, and she said both of them. And so Rava said, "I'll go second." You didn't want to pass away. And that was Rava and Rami Barchama that are sitting in front of Rav Chisda. Now we have Rav and Rami Barchama. It's the Gemara over here described their style of learning. The first they would repeat what he said, and then afterwards they would discuss and analyze. There's two levels. Yeah, and then Rami Barchama died, and Rav married the daughter of Rav Chisda. Then the daughter of Rav Chisda died. Rav was very upset about that. There was a dream interpreter, I remember in Brachas, that interpreted that his wife was going to die. The threshold was no good or something. No, that was something about the doorway. And Rava said, "I forgive you for everything except for the daughter of Rav Chisda. She was a good wife." Okay. Stick to the text. So Abaya is sitting in front of Rav Yosef and Metalasa in the sukkah. Nashiv zika v'kamaisi tzivusa. A wind blew and little pieces from the schach started to fall into the food. Amar Rav Yosef panali mani mihacha. Rav Yosef says, "Take the utensils out of here, because I'm going inside." Amalei Abaya. Abaya says, "V'tanam mishatisrach hamikvah." Only if this porridge is getting spoiled. I'm very particular. And this is, for me, this is as if as if the porridge is spoiled. Now, the Rashi quotes the Gemara Psachim, where Rav Yosef says that, the Gemara says that there's three people that their life is not really a life. The first one is people that are overly sympathetic. They can't handle anyone else's suffering. Yeah, they suffer together with everyone else. The second one is people that get angry. And the third one is people that are very finicky. Nothing is, it's probably like OCD or something that's very, uncomfortable. Rav Yosef says, I have all of them. That's what his comment was. So here, he has to go inside because there's these things in the wind that are blowing down this little, like a chaff or whatever it is from the staff. He has to go inside. Now, the place can say that you really can't use any excuse to go inside the sukkah and say, yeah, it bothers me. It has to be something that bothers most people. Now, but there are exceptions, but you can't just use like any exception. Like, yeah, the neighbor's music or something. Okay. Yeah, over here we're saying that it actually only affected Rav Yosef. But nevertheless, it has to be something that would normally affect someone of that nature. It can't just be stam, you make up anything. It has to be something that has some normal. Okay, Taner Rabbanan, starting in a brayso. Someone's in the middle of eating and it starts to rain. V'yarad, see v'yarad, it goes down, it goes off the roof. They don't make him go back to finish the meal when it stops raining. Until he finishes the meal, he's allowed to eat in his place. He already slept everything. He can finish over there. He's sleeping under the schach. When it starts to rain, the yarad, he goes down into the house to go to bed. You don't make him go up. Ad sheyeyar. Yeah, means until it gets light, but it's not so clear. Ibailu, the Gemara says ad sheyeyar, doesn't mean until he wakes up. Yeyar with the ayin. Ad sheyeyar, until it gets light. Now, the difference would be is ad sheyeyar, until it gets light, would mean that even if he wakes up in the middle of the night, he can go back to sleep. He doesn't have to go into the sukkah because it's not light yet. Ad sheyeyar with the ayin, that would mean that if he wakes up in the middle of the night, he has to go back into the sukkah. You don't have to wake him up, but when he wakes up, you would have to go back into the sukkah, even though it's in the middle of the night. So Tashma, we have a brayso that says Ad sheyeyar v'yal amud hashachar, until it gets light, and amud hashachar, and it becomes dawn. The Gemara says tarti. First of all, it gets light after dawn. But yeyar sounds like when the sun rises. So it must mean elaim ad sheyeyar. It must mean that he wakes up. Yeyar means until he wakes up. And then v'yal amud hashachar. So really what happens, there's two requirements here for him to have to go back. Two criteria. One is he has to wake up naturally. And the second one is that it has to get light. So if he wakes up in the middle of the night, he can go back to sleep. And then he woke up and it's light and it's already dawn. So then he goes out. No, I made a mistake. Yeyar also means some of the shachar. It means the light. The only question is that it was redundant. Ad sheyeyar v'yal amud hashachar tarti, that's redundant until it gets light and until it gets light. That's the double expression. So the answer is it has to mean that yeyar means he wakes up. Okay. Mashal ma'adav, what is this similar to? Ibailu. The Gemara has a question. Mishapach lemi. Remember in the Mishnah we said that if it rains on sukkahs, in the sukkah, so it's as if the servant poured water, mixed the drink rather for his master, and then he poured it on his face. So who's the he and who's the face? So the Gemara asks, Mi shafach l'mi? Who put it on who? Tashima was taught in a brayse. The Tanya was taught in a brayse. Come and listen. Shafach le rabbi kiten al panov. The master pours it on his face. V'amalai, and he says, I'm not interested in your serving me. How would it work the other way? What would the other pshat be? If the servant poured it in the master's face, what would that be? So the Mefarshim explain that even though he was allowed to leave the sukkah, but the fact that he left the sukkah is sort of like telling the master that I'm not interested in serving, that he leaves. And he pours it in the master's face, and he leaves the sukkah. Yeah, as if he was rebellious. You should have had enough. The fact that you're serving the czar should have kept you more.
Isn't that what the mitzvah that goyim are going to have to do?
Yeah. That's going to be on Daf Mem Tes, I think. Oh, sorry. We didn't get the Mem Tes. Somewhere else. Yeah, Nun Beis. Yeah, the Gemara is going to talk about that later. When Mashiach comes, the Eibush is going to make it very hot. And the Goyim are going to leave the sukkah. They won't be able to handle the heat. They're going to kick it when they leave. Something like that. Okay. So because we're talking about occurrences that are considered a bad sign if it rains on Sukkot, it's like the master saying that I'm not interested. So now the Gemara goes on with other type events. Tana Rabbanan, starting in a brayse. Bisman shacham aloika, the time when there's an eclipse, the solar eclipse. So siman ra l'kol olam kulei, the bad sign for the whole world. Now, the solar eclipse is predictable, so it doesn't mean that it's a bad sign, like bad sign. What it means is that these are times when we have to be more careful. At those predictable times, those are times you have to be more careful. It's like Friday afternoon. It's predictable that people get frustrated in the house. It's not like us in the currents. Those are the times that it's already on the calendar. It doesn't look like that from the Gemara. Yeah. Dr. Stein is suggesting that it's a bad sign for the world because this looting and everything, it's like a blackout. We'll see. I don't know. It doesn't look like that's the shot. What is this similar to? It's like a king. He makes a meal for his servants. He puts a lantern in front of them. He gets angry. He tells the servant, take the lamp away. Yeah. Let them sit in the dark. That's the first brisa. We're going to have two more opinions here that are going to disagree with this. Tanya was taught in a brisa of Meir Mekolzman Shemayris, like in any time that the Mairis, the luminaries, have an eclipse. Siman Ralas Yinam Shal Yisrael. It's a bad sign. Yinam Shal Yisrael is a euphemism. It means for the Jewish people. It's a bad sign for the Jewish people. Because they're used to being hit, used to being smitten. Mashal Sefer, this is an example of a teacher. Shabbalah Beis Sefer comes to school. Bitsua Biyadeh, he has a whip. There's a new whip. Midayig, who worries? Misharaga Lilkes B'chol Yom V'Yayim, the one that gets hit every day. That's the one that's nervous. Yes, and Hudayik, that's the one that's nervous. So that's why anything bad, the Jewish people worry. This is historically, this is quite accurate. Anything that goes wrong, the Jewish people worry. But here we go again. Okay. So what happened was the first brisa said that if there's an eclipse, it's bad for the whole world. The second brisa says if there's an eclipse, it's bad for the Jewish people. That's Reb Meir's view. Taner Rabbanan, you have another brisa. At the time that there's a solar eclipse, it's a bad sign for the nations. Levana, like if there's a lunar eclipse, it's a bad sign for the Jewish people. Divides it up. So we have really three opinions here. The whole world, the Jewish people, or it depends on which eclipse, the solar or the lunar. Now the Gemara goes on, it says, there's two interpretations to this. Rashi interprets this, that means as the sun rises. There's another pshat that it means that if it's Leike b'Mizrach on the eastern side of the sun, notice it doesn't have to be a full eclipse. Sometimes there's partial eclipse. If it's on the eastern side, there's two pshat. Anyway, whatever the case is, if the eclipse is on the east, according to Rashi, as it rises, then it's a bad sign for those people that live in the east. The Myra, if it's on the west side, then similarly Yeshvi Myra. Bemta, if it's in the center, Bemta Rakia. Yeah, the other Girsa has not Bemta Rakia. The Rabbeinu Chananel's Girsa is just Bemta, which could mean not in the middle of the sky, but maybe means in the middle of the sun. And according to that pshat, it would fit that it's an eclipse in the center of the sun, which is a full eclipse, I think, because the center. The way that the moon is in the sun, the distance of it. The sun is 400 times larger than the moon, and it's 400 times further away. So it works exactly that the eclipse is exactly proportional. That we get the exact distance with the size. It's exactly you have a partial eclipse. Right. Okay, whatever the case is, here Argir says Bemtza Rakia, if it's in the middle of the sky, which means in the middle of the day, then it's a bad sign for the whole world. Hanav Daimon Ladam, if the sun looks like blood, then Cherav Balaylam, means a sword is coming. Sounds like war. Lasak, if it looks like goat's hair, which is dark, then Chitzi Rav Balaylam, then it's like famine. It's coming to the world. Azul, if it looks like blood and dark, then Cherav Chitzi Rav Balaylam, then both are coming. Laka b'knisasei. This means if it's when it's the eclipse is when it's setting. Prana shayalavai means it's not coming right away. It's going to be at the end of the day. You still have time. B'yitziyasei, if it's right at sunrise, then memehereslav, it's coming right away. B'yeshem nechilaf advar, and some say it works the other way. That means that when it's setting, it's coming right away. That's the end of the day. It's all over. And when it's sunrise, you still have a whole day ahead of you. So there's still more time. There's two ways of looking at that. It never happens that the nations are smitten and their God is not smitten with them. Now, their God either means an idol, or Rashi says it means their angel. He says, for example, Samach Mem is the angel of Esav. Rashi says. Esav is in the country. Right. Well, maybe other information. Yeah. Right. Esav could mean that. Rome. The problem, what the controversy is Christianity, all the Christian lands, all considered Esau. That's Evan Ezra says no. Other people are going to kick them. Yeah. Someone was trying to tell me that the redwoods is really Evan. It's the Koyas, the tree that's really 2,000 years old. When the base of English is being destroyed, they started to grow, because it says, anyway, okay. It says that when this one gets up, this one goes down. So, okay. Ubechol alikei Mitzrayim eser shvatim, with all the gods of Egypt, will make judgment. Yeah, that means that they get judged together with the people. At the time that the Jewish people are fulfilling the will of Hashem, then they don't have to be afraid of any of this. So says Hashem, don't learn from the ways of the nations, and don't fear from the signs of the heaven, because the Goyim will fear from them. Only the fear will be only on the nations, not on the Jewish people. If the Jewish people are serving Hashem, they don't have to worry about any of this. Because of four things, the sun is smitten. Rashi says he doesn't know the reason for this. The following four sins. Alav bezin shemis nispad kalacha. And Av Bezdin passes away, and he's not eulogized properly. Nara Marasa Shitzaka Be'irvein Meshiela. Nara Marasa is a woman that's betrothed, not fully married, but she's still considered Nashis Ish, that she's being violated and she's calling out and no one's helping her. Val Mishkav Zacha, homosexuality. Val Shneachin Shnishbachtam Kechad, and two brothers that are killed like one. Doesn't say, there's no comment here of like what's going on. Like, is that in reference to something? Or, yeah, Rashi doesn't say. Oh wow. Very nice. Dr. Stein is suggesting that it has to do with like the chance of evil. Doesn't say anything. It says the Av Bezdin was similar to the sun. Nara Marasa it's clear to the sun. It's clear like the sun that she's crying out. But it doesn't go on and explain the others. Yeah. Okay. That was why the sun gets eclipsed. There's four things why the moon and the stars, the other luminaries. Yeah. It says al-kaisvei plaster, people that write documents that are not true. They forge documents about someone and just to make him look bad. Yeah. I wonder if the word plastic is associated with the word plaster. It's like a forgery. It's a fake. People that testify falsely. People that raise the small animals, goats and sheep, farm animals. The problem is that they let them roam around and they eat everyone's stuff, eat everyone's food. Yeah, it's like the iguanas. Yeah. They destroy everyone's vegetable garden. Right? People that cut good trees. Hashem is giving them good, and they're just cutting it down. Yeah. I don't know. Ilanis Taivas. It's a little surprising because if it's referring to fruit trees, then I don't need the whole explanation of because they're taking away with the blessing that God gave them. It's a violation in the Torah, not to cut a fruit tree. So maybe they have a heterim because they're making more money from the apartment building that they're going to build or something. But there's a heterim for that. Okay. The next thing is yeah, I don't know. Yeah, the professor's asking how do you eclipse a star? Oh, can't see the stars. What happens with the stars is that the light of the star actually moves around the sun. The sun is blocking the star. The light travels around, but you can't see it. So they have to wait for an eclipse to actually see it. To see the light of the star going around. That was this big thing to prove Einstein's theory that the space bends around the mass. So they were running around finding eclipses to be able to check this out. Yeah, it doesn't mean so you would actually eclipse this. The eclipse of the star would be with the sun. That would be an eclipse. Anyway, okay. But there's four reasons why homeowners their possessions are given over to the kingdom. What is that? Al-Mashi Shtaris Bruin. They hold on to documents that were paid already, and maybe they'll be able to collect again. Al-Malvi Beribis. They lend with interest. What else? We turn the page. I'll show you. Or they were able to protest from what people were doing wrong, but they didn't bother. And also they make pledges, but they don't pay it up. In the shul when they're doing the auctions. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And it probably means that they would have been affected as well. Yeah. Yeah. These were powerful people. And if they would have said something, it would have been affected. They just didn't bother. So Amarav Bishvil Arbadvam Nechse Balabatim Yetzel Timyan. Rav says for four things that the possessions of the homeowners go to waste. Now, what exactly does it mean to waste? They just rot away, I guess. They don't pay up the workers. They tell them, come back tomorrow. They don't pay at all. It's not they just delay it. They don't pay at all. They take the responsibilities that they have and they put it on everyone else. It doesn't say what that is. And also because of arrogance. They make themselves superior over other people. The gasas haruach keneged kulam, and the worst is the gasas haruach, this arrogance. When it comes to people that are humble, the humble will inherit the earth. And they'll delight in the abundant peace. and Hadrullah Chayasin, Lineda, we'll return to this parak. Masech the Sukkah is divided in half. The first part is Masech the Sukkah. Second part is probably Masech the Lulav Esrog. So yeah, this was the conclusion of the Sukkah part. Now we start the Lulav and Esrog part. That's okay. Stop right there.